You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
This is Debbie Laux, and you're listening to the Horsemanship Radio. Thank you for joining us. Horsemanship Radio airs on the 1st and the 15th of the month, and it's brought to you by Drimee Solarium and MontyRobertsUniversity.com. Today, we sit down with Monty and Pat Roberts, my parents, who have been in the horse business their entire marriage since 1956. That's 70 years at this recording. I consider them an unmatched duo in the starting, training, and performance of horses across several disciplines. A power couple with a depth of knowledge rarely seen in this 2,000-year-old tradition of horse training. Happy anniversary, Mom and Dad. Listen in. Well, I have the privilege of sitting down with a couple that have been married for how many years now, Mom?
It will, next week, be 70 years.
Next week, 70 years. Do you remember the anniversary?
No.
You're always supposed to say yes.
I remember what the anniversary means to me.
That's even more important.
And what my life has been because of the anniversary, which is unbelievably positive in my mind for me and this crazy life of mine.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to bring you in here before. For our listeners who have been with the podcast a long time or want to go into the search engine of the podcast, you can look up a really fun conversation that we had with John and Georgia Weister with Monty and Pat, sitting around the kitchen table talking about team pinning. And that was great to hear, going back to the 1970s and 80s, how team pinning was first formed. And I want to say it out loud here. It did not start in Italy. It did not start in other places in the world. It's really fun. So I thought I'd get you guys together because we were talking about pieces of equipment, horse equipment, tack. We were talking about side pulls and bits and everything in that family. And I said, I never hear people really analyze what a side pull is. We don't have to define it here, but I think a lot of people have a vision of what a side pull is when you say it out loud. But do we talk about training in a side pull? I don't think so. I think a lot of people use a side pull to avoid maybe putting a bit in the horse's mouth or the equid, what you're riding, donkey, mule, to put something besides leather in the mouth or even metal in the mouth. The side pull can be a lot of different things. Some people think hackamore, but hackamore opens up another can of worms a little bit, right? You've got pretty severe hackamores that can be mechanical, and some people are very frowny on that. And then there's the hackamores of 100 years ago, which are beautifully braided and just works of art. And a horse that can be trained and then perform in a hackamore could be very gentle and intelligent, and in fact maybe eventually figure it out. And then you have less breaks and you won some championships in hackamore, so we could talk about that. How is a hackamore maybe different than a side pull in your mind?
Well, the hackamore should be different from a side pull, quite different. About 6 inches different, in that the side pull actually pulls toward your hand from the side cheek of the horse's head, while the hackamore touches the chin at the bottom. Now, not all people do it that way, but that's where it belongs. That's how the old-time cowboys invented it. Was to rub down here on the bottom of the chin, and then when the horse would drop his head to get away from it, you would release the reins and it would be more comfortable. And pretty soon you could just pick up the reins and his head would bow to you, and then they would say, "What do you want me to do? I'm in your hands." Mm-hmm. It was a controlling factor. Mm-hmm. The side pull is also a controlling factor, but it's more with the use of a pull than the hackamore, which is a touch and a scrape at the bottom of the chin.
It doesn't have to be painful, though, hackamore?
a hackamore doesn't have to be painful. But if you do it right, the horse is thinking it's going to get painful if I don't, and then do something that he's asking me to do. And the way you get that is to put pressure on it with the reins around the horse's neck and just in front of where the saddle would be. And then you touch those reins, and whenever he drops his head toward his chest, you release the reins and let him be comfortable. That isn't what happens on those first days of putting him in a hackamore or a side pull halter.
It has to be a little bit more telegraphed, let's say, of what you're asking.
Right. And once you find yourself causing the horse significant pain, you're wrong.
You know, here at the Monty Roberts International Learning Center, we're always experimenting with ways to help horses feel their best, because a comfortable horse is a thinking horse. One of the tools we've added to our daily program is the Drimee Solarium, and we've loved what it does for the horses. This gentle infrared heat helps relax muscles, increase the circulation, and it's a wonderful way to help horses dry and recover after work. It's the kind of thoughtful care that fits beautifully with Monty's philosophy of listening to the horse and supporting them physically and mentally. So we're really proud to welcome Drimee Solarium as the title sponsor of Horsemanship Radio. If you'd like to learn more about how these systems support horse well-being, visit DrimeeUSA.com. That's DRIMEEUSA.com. And use the promo code MONTY1 for $150 off your purchase. That's MONTY, the number 1, for $150 off your purchase. If you've ever watched my dad, Monty Roberts, work with a horse, you know how powerful a gentle approach could be. At the Equus Online University, we share that with you, hundreds of lessons on building trust, lowering fear, and communicating with horses in a way that truly honors them. We keep adding new video lessons every week because the journey of learning never stops. It has been incredible to see students from around the world transform their horsemanship through kindness and clarity. I'd love for you to join us at MontyRobertsUniversity.com and experience it for yourself.
You want to keep it below the real pain margin and not do this jerking and pulling and slamming that a lot of people do, and they still do it. But my voice is all over the world saying, no pain.
Right.
Try to keep away from the pain. And you know, in all fairness, I never have been completely without causing some pain. But I also know that I called that a mistake, that I pulled too hard or something, and I saw the pain action of the horse's head, and then I loosened the reins. And the horses then were my teachers, because there was no other people around teaching that way. They yanked them, pulled them, hurt them, because you have to do that, they said. But when I started showing horses, actually, I started showing horses at the age of 4.
Right.
That was my first show. So I would say at the age of 8 or 9, I was then doing differently at the horse's head from people in their 20s and 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
And a lot of them said, yeah, well, he's just a baby. He doesn't know what he's doing. And Ginger was my first horse, and so that was the first one that taught me I'll be better when you don't cause pain than when you do cause pain. And I often caused my father to be angry with me because I didn't use pain, and I let him take that extra step or backing up or whatever I'm asking him to do. And it turned out that he would do anything I asked him to do. So the rest of the world was looking at me and basically saying, yeah, that kid's got something over that horse, and he's never had a problem with him, and he doesn't know what he's doing. I'm trying to teach him to be a little stronger.
Yeah, well, I think some people who take lessons from a traditional lesson giver often say the same things today, even, kick him, hit him harder.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Believe me, if there's anybody on earth that shouldn't hold those people responsible, it's me, because I know what they weren't told.
Right.
And I know what the horse was told that I was sitting on. And so you don't want to blame the horse for being reluctant. And you don't really want to blame the kids because they've been told, give him a yank. Yank on his mouth here. And, oh yeah, that's just a little blood there. Don't worry about it. And basically every horse that I dealt with outside of Ginger had some blood in his mouth at some time or other.
Right.
And I went completely away from that, and most horses today don't get blood in their mouth.
Exactly. I mean, I think now we're at least self-conscious enough to know that can't be good, and you get dinged. Here's where the judges come in again. You get dinged if you have those troubles in your performance too. Yeah. Mom said something interesting earlier about, when we were talking earlier, about side pulls being a great way to get your horse top line, get him in form too. So tell me about that.
It's very important when you're showing a horse to have a nice headset. And one of the greatest tools that there is for head setting without being on the back of a horse is to use the side pull. And the horse will learn without someone sitting on his back, probably a whole lot better because he's doing it without any coercion. I think it's just a great way of going.
So it sounds like you're talking about double lines.
Double lines.
And maybe a surcingle or putting him through the stirrups.
A surcingle, probably.
Yep, surcingle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we use surcingles a lot. It's a great way of going.
I mean, I think it's really important that that you have taken us over the years through very simple baby steps of getting a young horse started finally to saddle. But there are so many steps. So to the person who says, I don't start my horses till they're 4 or 5, there's certain breeds, certain people. And there's so much you can do. I always make it akin to, if you want to learn a language, do you want to learn when you're really young, or do you want to learn it later, when you know so much? No, you want to know some of those basic muscle memories early if you can. Maybe you even start with a 2-year-old and you throw some long lines on, like you're saying, Mom, and a side pull and a surcingle, and you throw them back out in the pasture for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Are you ahead of the game at that point?
I was sitting on horses and asking them to give to my hands with the touch of my fingers on the reins. And they did it. Why did they do it? Because as soon as they did it, I relaxed the reins.
Reward.
And it's reward. And so that's not really violence. But it's a form of touchy pain where then you make it more comfortable, and suddenly you get on them and you pick up the reins and they go where the reins tell them to go. And so I started showing horses in junior classes at the age of 5 and 6 and 7 years of age. And later on, clear out to New York, to the Madison Square Garden, where I won the World Championship in every conceivable section of horsemanship that they could ask you for. And we're sitting in this room with the buckle that I won.
That's right. Called it Horse Mastership.
Horse Mastership was the name of the class. And the one I won is on this wall with a big buckle, and it's the last one they ever had.
That's right.
Because there were too many trainers there that said, "What is this? He's got some fake thing that he does to make him do this
I guess
thing."
that's what you say when you don't understand how to do it. But one thing that's interesting in this conversation too is Western pleasure, or a pleasure horse. It's been contorted quite a bit since I was a kid, for sure, and then Mom, when you showed too. But let's just suffice it to say that you were a multi championship winner in the pleasure classes on Julia's doll. How many trophies do you think you achieved? How many are in that garage over there?
I don't know. There's 50 or more, I guess.
50.
Yeah.
50 or more. Yeah. And it's a lot of that is about headstands.
Absolutely, headset.
Headset.
Yes,
Sorry.
it is. There's no question about it. Nowadays, when you watch a pleasure class, to me, it's not watching pleasure. For me, it's false headset. And I don't know what they do to get a horse to go along, shuffling along like they're rolling marbles on the ground. But that's what it looks like to me. But back in the days when I was showing pleasure horses, Julia's doll and a few others, we had just a normal, natural headset. You had a good roll to the pole. You brought the nose down,
right.
But you didn't hold it tight. It was a give and take. And that's one place where the side pull would come in. You could do a lot of your work on the ground with the side pull and the long lines. And it's a shame that they have gone so far with horses because it's so unnatural.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful thing to watch the pleasure horses go back in the 70s, 80s, 90s. And what it's gone to these days is just, it's really sad.
Is it a pendulum swing? Do you think it'll go back?
I don't know. I really don't, because they've kept this marble rolling headset for a long time now. And when you watch the horse, they don't have a natural gait. It's like they've created a gait where they maybe gallop in front and shuffle behind, or vice versa. It's just so unnatural looking, isn't it, Monty?
Yes, it is unnatural. But I think what you have to do is look back at how they rode their horses before you ever started to ride and before I was showing horses. And those horses that were in competition before we rode would never win a nickel today. After going through all the things that we went through in the early days of our marriage, which was 1956, and all through the last part of last century, we brought nonviolence to the front.
It's a tough world. It's a 2,000-year-old tradition, horse training and lesson giving and all that. So we have a lot embedded in there. We have a lot cooked into the cake at this point, right? Like some industries are very new, and you can say or try to do anything you want. With horses, we go through a lot of filters. So if this episode accomplishes anything, it gives you all license, you listeners, license to say what you want done with your horse or not. And don't have to listen just to the old lesson givers that don't have the tools to take violence out of the training. Seek out another trainer who might agree with your textbook, Dad, From My Hands to Yours. They might agree with the dually halter, which is more like a side pull. You can put clip-on reins on it and use it like a side pull. Allow your brain to open up and assert yourself for how you want to live with your horse and how you want to be trained, I would say.
Yeah, that's so true. And the thing is that those people that wanted it to stay the way it was slid downward.
Right.
And we're winning less and less and less.
Yeah.
And when you take a horse in to train for those people and you beat him up, you might make him do whatever it is that you're asking him to do. But he won't look like he wants to do it. He will look like he's too afraid not to do it. And that has become non-winner rather than winner.
Absolutely. It always reminds me of Mom when she's taking a picture of our family there's a horse in the picture. She always worried about the horse's ears and the attitude of the horse before us, I think, right? We could be caught with, turning around, but...
But the horse's ears had to be pointed and forward.
It had to be perfect. That made the horse smile, right?
It's exactly the same.
Alert. And that's what I look for when I see progress in horse training.
And you don't see that in those poor little horses that shuffle around the ring these days.
No, they don't look very happy.
It's very, very sad, actually.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you both for contributing to this. I think we'll get some listeners who are happy with what you said, and maybe they'll explore it if they've never even thought about it before. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I consider it a gift to me that God decided the world to take me on and go to places like Africa and even Iceland, Australia, New Zealand. And I loved it. I loved every minute of it because the horses suddenly were doing what I asked them to do and looking like they liked it.
Exactly.
And that has been the key to horses that win and horses that lose now. The horse that looks like he likes what he's doing will beat that other horse 9 times out of 10. So there is a bit of selfishness in this for me, but I suppose anything that we learn in life has a bit of that in it, where somebody is better than somebody else as far as the outcome of what you're trying to teach. And the horses are trying to teach us that violence is never the answer.
They're doing a good job. Thanks. We are grateful that this episode is brought to you by our title sponsor, Drimee Solarium, helping horses feel their best with therapeutic infrared technology trusted by professional barns around the world. Visit DrimeeUSA.com and use the promo code Monty1 for $150 off your purchase. And by our show sponsor, MontyRobertsUniversity.com, the most comprehensive place anywhere to learn Monty Roberts' concepts and methods of nonviolent horsemanship. For details about today's show, go to HorsemanshipRadio.com, where you can find links and photos and more information about our guests. We love connecting with our listeners, so please follow us on Facebook under facebook.com/Monty Roberts, and Instagram.com/Monty_Roberts. Be sure to visit all the other great shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com. Until next time, have many happy horse hours.